Can you think of a more epic disappointment to end one of the most ridiculous, over-the-top epic series ever? Is there anything that they can do in this final episode that's going to redeem it? And stop me if I'm out of line here, but this has been bad.
I would have to agree.
Is there anything they can do to redeem it? No. I was feeling like they could redeem it probably maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago when I was like, well, they still have 3 or 4 episodes. Like, let's see where this goes. But with one remaining, I don't see how you can redeem this whole season with 1 episode. I mean, hopefully I'm wrong.
It would take some real came out of nowhere left field shit. 2 episodes ago, I think I said, if aliens show up to Westeros and it's actually humans and it's fucking Elon Musk that steps out, like maybe that would redeem it just because it'd be so out of nowhere. But man, I am really struggling with this. And Mark, you've been talking about how this is the last 2 episodes is really like 3 episodes. I have to disagree with that now because like 30 minutes of this episode was just people running through the streets and there's no actual content there. I feel like the story just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I was super disappointed after this one finished up. I'm just thinking what would be the one ending that the majority of watchers would want to see. For me, it would be, this is really predictable, but Arya killing Daenerys and then Jon Snow taking the throne. It's an ending that everyone, for the most part, sees coming, but I doubt they're going to do that.
All right, Greg, before you tell us how you think this show's going to end, go ahead and plug your channel. We Shouldn't Be Here and everything else you got going on right now.
I am I guess you could call me the host, but I am the guy of my YouTube channel. It's called We Shouldn't Be Here. I narrate horror stories, true horror stories of, crazy things that happen to people that actually happen to people. I find those stories and I narrate them with, spooky music in the background and stuff. And, people seem to like it. So if you're into listening to scary music, not music, but scary stories, then I would suggest checking it out. Just We Shouldn't Be Here. So that's my YouTube channel. You
can find him on Instagram and Twitter as well. Yeah. So that said, why don't you go ahead and give us your prediction for how the show ends?
On a disappointment note, in my opinion, like that's how the show's going to end because every possible way I thought the show could go with the way it ends. Honestly, how I thought it was going to end was something along the lines of Cersei like begging for her life, something like that. But then obviously this episode showed that that's not going to happen. So at this point, like you were saying, like Jon Snow on the throne, I don't know. Like honestly, I'm just bored at this point, so I don't really care how it ends. I just want to see how it's going to end.
I've felt a lot of things throughout this. I don't think boredom is necessarily one of them. Confusion, definitely. I don't know, a little bit of angst and anger. I think that Jon Snow is going to have to be the person that kills Dany because if you go back to the very first season, Eddard Stark's whole spiel that he gives in front of Bran and Robb and Jon is, you carry out your own justice. And I feel like they're going to make the decision that she needs to die. And Jon Snow has this honor that his, not father, but the guy who raised him instilled in him. And it's continued to bite him in the ass. And now he's just going to have to murder the woman he loves, who is also his aunt. And that's a weird sentence. But.
So if Jon Snow killed Dany, what would happen to Drogon and what would happen to the Unsullied?
That's a good question because it seems like the Unsullied are undyingly loyal to Daenerys, as you saw Big Angry Grey Worm just hucking a spear at a dude who had already dropped his sword, which is a full heel turn, almost as bad as Dany's. But I think that it would probably be like the Northmen versus the Unsullied. And where the fuck did the Dothraki come back from? Weren't they all dead?
No, when they were talking about battle strategy, they said, we lost pretty much half of our army, but we still have half the Unsullied, half the Dothraki, all the Northmen or whatever. So I know everybody was kind of questioning that, like, where did all the Dothraki come from? I thought they all went out with the flames and got killed. So where's the other half? I don't know. I don't know where they came from.
It seems like they just keep pulling armies out of nowhere. And I mean, if you think about how worthless the Golden Company was here, like these armies just grow on trees, I guess, and you can sail them across the ocean and you just have a limitless supply of bodies to throw at a fucking war.
And the Golden Company in the past seasons has actually been a fairly good fighting army. And it was just pretty embarrassing how they just wiped them all out like that.
When did they show up in past seasons?
They were season...
Am I mixing them up with some other city that Dany freed a long time ago, or what?
I don't remember the battle necessarily, but I remember Sir Davos was Stannis was trying to get the Golden Company, and they basically said no to him. But that's the first time I remember hearing about them.
The only thing that matters is that Sir Davos is still alive, because he's the one that I want to sit on the Iron Throne at the end of the season. Even though it's definitely not going to happen, but he's the fucking man. All right, so let's talk about the actual episode itself. We'll break down some things as we go through. You know, for a show that thrives on shocking deaths, they pretty much telegraphed this whole Varys thing from a mile away. He didn't even get a chance to give his big fancy speech. He tried that with Jon, and Jon totally shut him down. Do you guys think, and Greg, I'll let you go ahead, do you think that he got any of his letters out via Raven, or did they all die there on his desk?
I really do think he got at least one out, because in the very beginning, before he talks to that girl, I think her name was Martha, before he talks to her, he's filling out, Jon is the true heir, Eddard Stark, whatever you could read. And then at the end, when it's nighttime, and that's when they come and get Varys, he's writing another one. I highly doubt he's continuing the same exact Raven letter. I think he got at least one out, and he was probably just filling out another.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He did have a stack of them on his desk as he was going. Why did he take all of his rings off when he was about to get murdered? Like, what are you going to do with those, buddy?
I have zero idea why. It didn't make sense, and I don't know why they threw it in there unless they're going to address it next episode.
They don't seem to address things that have already happened, like the way that Arya somehow just fucking dunked on the Night King from out of nowhere, but I digress. Mark, was this a worthy death scene for Varys, a character who's been there since the beginning?
No, not really. And Tyrion really didn't have much to say, and they were like best friends throughout the whole series. Little shitty, not giving him any chance to really speak on his behalf. I think the one thing that everyone was kind of just like, wow, that was the first time we saw that, was when Dany said, what did she say? Dracarys? Pretty calmly, and then the dragon comes out from behind her and just incinerates him. But other than that, it was not too satisfying.
That was pretty sick, though. I didn't even know the dragon was behind her, and then he just like comes out, and I was like, oh, yeah, dang, that was cool.
So this episode was one of the ones that was directed by Miguel Sapochnik. He does a lot of the major battle stuff. He did the Battle of Winterfell, he did the Battle of the Bastards, and Hardhome. So you kind of see the credit coming out, and you know it's going to be murder heavy, for lack of a better term. What I can say about this season is that for the most part, outside of the darkness that was the Battle of Winterfell, the cinematography and the direction has been outstanding. That scene where the dragon comes out just from behind Daenerys, I was watching with my wife and her sister, and they both just go, "Oh shit!" Yeah. And that's how you know. Like, that's a good scene. So, fucking dragging out of nowhere right up your butt.
Felt like there was a pretty touching moment in that, and that's that part when Varys is standing there, he's chained up, and Tyrion comes up and he goes, "It was me," and then he looks down at Tyrion, and he just says, "Goodbye, old friend." Like, those words right there, for some reason, it hit me all the way back from season 1. I just got like a flashback of all the seasons of them together. And it really, it made me sad. I don't know, it just really did. That was the first time I felt like emotions from that episode.
I think he had the two saddest scenes. That I did get a little emotional there, but I think the Jaime scene was even sadder, which we can get into later.
Did you guys watch the Inside the episode where D.B. Weiss and the other guy, totally blanking on his name, David Benioff? I don't know. They talked about how essentially Varys is Tyrion's best friend outside of Jaime. I had never really looked at it that way, but yeah, they're both kind of those smartasses, know too much, and they value information way more than pretty much anything else, more than gold or, armies or whatever. Yeah. So it's an interesting take. I appreciated that. Let's go back to Dany, though. Before she goes all Mad Queen on King's Landing, she's already pissing me off because she does this thing where she's talking about how Jon betrayed her. Jon Snow. He's the most honorable man in all of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm sorry that he's not a shitbag like you are. He's not going to burn a whole fucking city to the ground. And now you're out here threatening Tyrion, who's your hand, and he's one of the only people that's out here standing up for you. She talks about how Sansa actually killed Varys. Like, I don't remember Sansa being on top of that fucking dragon and telling the dragon to burn Varys to death.
Yeah, it was definitely Dany who put him to rest, but I definitely understood. what she was saying when, you know what I mean? She's like, Jon betrayed me. And he's like, no, Varys. And he's like, yeah, but you told Varys, Sansa told you, Jon told Sansa. Basically, this falls on Jon. But at the same time, like, how dumb do you have to be as the queen to trust, you know, that this information is not going to get out to somebody who's like, I'll never lie, like, because my lies are worth or my word is worth nothing if I start lying. So it's like, I mean, you're going to ask somebody who never lies to hold a lie forever? Like, I don't know. Come on.
That's a good point. And Sansa, he's known her for her whole life. And he's known Dany for what? If you want to put it in a time perspective, how long do you think they've been together for? A few months?
Yeah, I was going to say like a year maybe. I don't know. There's no loyalty that, well, I mean, there is, but it's not deserved. You know, I just really struggle with this. And I think this whole heel turn that Dany's had, where she went from the one that you're rooting for, even before she started killing innocent people, you're just kind of like, all right, this is a stupid decision, followed by another stupid decision. And you keep going with it. You know, Jon never said, no, I'm not going to tell anybody. As a matter of fact, after Dany asks him, he's kind of like, oh, well, you know, it's my family. I have to tell him.
Yeah.
It's just hard, man. I fucking hate her now.
Yeah. And honestly, the biggest problem I have with Dany is not so much where her character is now. It's just how fast they're getting her to this point. Because honestly, I think this back half season is not bad. I just think it's underdeveloped. I think they really are suffering from having 6 episodes in the season. If they stretch this out to 10, we could have had 2 solid episodes seeing Daenerys go back and forth in her mind, thinking, you know, should I be burning them down? Should I not be burning them down? Have more scenes with the advisors, to have her talking to Jon more, and having everybody's opinions and starting to develop her own sense of, should I be the Mad Queen or not? Because for her just to turn, it just is so fast that it doesn't make any sense. And a lot of people are complaining because she, you know, last season she was maybe showing a few signs of being a little unjust when she killed the Tarleys. But all of a sudden she's just like, she's going to kill everybody. It just doesn't make sense.
And that's a really good point, because I don't remember the episode of the season, but there was a point where she accidentally killed one innocent girl and she was all broken up over it. And now all of a sudden she's some fucking warlord who can just murder an entire swath of people and not bat an eye. It's definitely a turn.
Yeah.
And what do you think about the directors after the episode saying how Dany's whole motivation really came to fruition when she was on Drogon and looking at the Red Keep, and they were like, she started to realize like what this all meant and was building up to, and what they took from her and her family and things like that, and that's when she just snapped. I mean, do you buy that?
They can suck it, dude. No.
I think it's horseshit. Look, we've been off the books for the last 2-3 seasons, and I think that this is kind of how George R.R. Martin saw this ending. He, I'm sure, had so much more detail and background going into this, and, you know, last season was only 7 episodes, this one's only 6. They really are cutting around a lot of the story and just getting straight into what they think people want to see, which is dragons burning shit down and people getting their heads and hands cut off. And sure, that's like a little bonus in the background. And Mark, I know you're sick son of a bitch that likes this, but I'd rather stick with the story that got us here in the first place.
I was talking to my cousin last week or 2 weeks ago after we saw The Long Night, you know, that big fight at Winterfell. And honestly, was I bored during the fight? No. But I didn't have the feeling like I was watching Game of Thrones when I was watching the fight. I thought it was cool, and I liked seeing, you know, the White Walkers get killed and all that stuff. But what I really had a problem with is that's not why I watch Game of Thrones. I don't watch it for the action scenes. Yeah, like you hit the nail on the head when you said that's a little added bonus whenever you get cool action like that. But for me, I actually really liked last week's episode because it really got back to what I liked about Game of Thrones, which was the sentimental talks, which was the clever dialogue and writing and the acting. Like, I don't care so much about action as much as I care about good writing. I'm not saying it's the best writing, but seeing my favorite characters act is really just what drives me in. It's the politics that I really like about the show, not so much the action. So that's why I said, like, I was a little bit bored with this episode. Not that it wasn't super awesome to see Drogon just burning a city down. That was really cool, but it just went on for a very long time, and I kind of wanted some more confrontation, some more personal conflict with the characters.
when I hear you say that, Greg, I instantly just think Jaime Lannister. How they had something going for him and just completely destroyed it.
Yeah.
And I blame that all on writing, obviously, but there was so much more potential to actually have a really solid character development throughout this last season. And they just, I don't know if it was expected, but it was, in my opinion, just stupid how they ended it with them.
Agreed.
That really pissed me off.
As far as being bored in an episode, I can't necessarily say that, but they are to the point where they're kind of reusing some of the tropes that maybe made them popular in the first place. So I'm thinking when Arya is in the streets and she's getting trampled and it's kind of like, you get that feeling of existential suffocation. I mean, that's pretty reminiscent of the Battle of the Bastards, right? When Jon Snow almost died.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, is if you're mimicking your own story, then you're not really advancing at all.
You're just kind of replaying old tricks to try and keep the audience talking about it. And we want new tricks. It's the last season.
Yeah, you're going back to what has worked and you think will continue to work, but it doesn't really align with what we want to see now because we only have one fucking episode left.
Oh my God.
If we had a couple seasons, it's fine. But that's not the case.
We're going to get 3 spinoffs, so I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Mark, you alluded earlier to the Jaime and Tyrion scene. I assume you want to elaborate on that.
That one hit home because you could tell there was always that bond with Tyrion and Jaime throughout the last 8 seasons of the show. For Tyrion to actually say to his face, and in the back of his mind and your mind, that this is the last time they're going to see each other. I think Tyrion knew that. And what he said to him, basically, you were the reason why I was able to get through my childhood because everyone hated him and just thought he was useless. I think Tyrion knew for a fact that he wasn't going to be seeing his brother again, even though he did the whole ploy, hey, go in there and try to resolve things with Cersei and get them to surrender. He knew that wasn't going to happen. And the episode showed they weren't even close. Jaime, I thought maybe he was going to get up there and talk to Cersei for a second before they invaded. He was nowhere near the Red Keep at the time. But I think Tyrion was well aware it wasn't going to work out the way he told Jaime it could possibly work out. But yeah, that hit home because I knew that was the last time they were going to see each other.
And he is ready to die to save Jaime's life. He says that explicitly. He's like, I didn't think I'd get a chance to pay you back. Throughout the entire series, Tyrion has never really shown vulnerability through like people bullying him or hating him.
Yep.
And this was really the first time that we see that. So it was pretty powerful. I do agree with that. Greg, what did you think of this scene?
I got mistied. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. This whole back season with Tyrion, he's been kind of frustrating me. And it seems like he's such a smart guy for the first 7 seasons. And now he's making the worst mistakes in the world. So kind of when he's been on the screen, I've just been a little bit like, okay, what's he going to do now? Because it's not really true to how he usually has been. So what mistake is he going to make this time? And now he's going to go free Jaime. Like, what is this going to be? But when he actually broke down to Jaime and you said, you're the only one who never looked at me like a monster or treated me like a monster, he just falls down on his shoulders and wraps his arms around him. And he's not just like one tear down the cheek. He's sobbing. You know what I mean? And like, honestly, that got me. Like, I love Tyrion. I've never not loved Tyrion, but him just crying and breaking down, like, it really hit home that, this is definitely going to be the last time he's going to see him, whether his plan works or, and then he dies or he leaves with, Jaime leaves with Cersei. One way or another, he's never going to see his brother again. And I can really, put myself in his shoes. I think that's what's great about this show is you can kind of like put yourself into the characters, and I think that's why we love them so much. And when I saw him breaking down, I didn't cry or anything, but I definitely felt it on the inside. Really good acting at that point.
So I don't want to be this guy, but do we know that Jaime and Cersei are dead?
They better be.
I think they are.
I agree, but there's that twist that maybe they could be reaching for to keep you on the edge of your seat during the final episode. Jaime's got to be dead, right? He got stabbed a couple of times by Euron in the fight that no one asked for. He's got to be fucking dead. He would have bled out.
I swear to God, one of those, they showed like maybe 3 different doorway openings with all the rubble covering it up and there was no way out type thing. one of those doorways, there was clearly a gap where they could have just climbed up and I feel like gotten through.
Oh yeah, I saw sunlight.
So I was thinking, I'm like, what are you doing? I feel like you could just climb up that rubble right there and get out.
I gotta say though, Jaime burning Euron, Euron comes up, he's like, what would people call you if you killed another king? And Jaime just goes, you're no king. Just shitting on him. Fucking beautiful.
He could have shit out of him way better by actually mentioning something about Cersei's baby.
I don't know that he knew that Euron thought that was his kid. Who knows? He was already pretty pissed off because Euron told him, like, hey, I fuck Cersei.
It would have been really cool to say, oh, they'll sing songs forever about you if you kill 2 kings. And he goes, you're no king. It would have been cool because he said, well, I effed the queen and she's carrying my prince or something like that. And he would have been like, she's carrying my kid. What are you talking about? That would have been definitely more emotional, an emotional fight. It just kind of seemed like, okay, these two both love the same woman, so let's get them to fight each other. Like, I would have loved some more conviction, some more emotion behind it. Why do they want to kill each other so bad? Just to please us? Who are we? Just the fans? No, I want to see these guys go at it because they're like, no, that's my kid and my woman. No, that's my kid and my woman. So we're going to fight to the death. That would have been a lot more convincing. And then on top of that, in that scene after Jaime gets stabbed twice, Euron is just like sitting there like, ha 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 ha, I fought Jaime. And then Jaime stabs him in the stomach and he's like, ha, I killed Jaime Lannister. It's just like, what the heck cartoon am I watching right now? This is not cool to me. I don't know. Maybe you guys liked it. I didn't like it.
No, that's actually a really good point too. Instead, we're supposed to believe that Euron and Jaime fight just because Euron's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I didn't fall for that.
Like, Jaime had no beef with him. He says specifically, hey, let's go try to save Cersei. So he thought they weren't even enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't fall for that motive at all.
That's very dumb.
And the dumbest part is they do this all the time. But the slow crawl to the sword when Euron is very capable of getting up and just finishing off Jaime. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, but he's probably like super tired.
He's so tired, man.
I just had to swim from the ship, I'm tired.
Actually, that is true. He did have to swim.
He's a little worn out. But what kind of pisses me off about that, we know that season 8 is the final season and that it's ending. So we know characters have to die because we have to wrap this up, But Euron doesn't know that season 8 of the show he's in is wrapping up because he's supposed to be living in this world. So why would he sit back and just allow Jaime to grab the sword to ultimately kill him? Because he's like, oh, it's time for my death. Like, no, like if this was reality, you would be killing him because he could still kill you. Like, Does that make sense? Like, we know that they might die because the show's going to end, but they're not aware of that. They're in their own life. And so why are you going to sit back and then now he died and he's just okay with it? I would be trying to survive because even after the show ends, his days are going to keep going in that reality. So why would you just sit back and allow Jaime to grab a sword?
Because sloppy writing.
I guess so.
There's a cop-out, Greg. Goddamn cop-out.
I mean, I just didn't want to say it.
All right, so let's move away from the sappy stuff or the love stuff. Can someone explain to me how Dany is now an expert fucking warlord? What changed between last week when she got one of her dragons killed and this week where she murdered pretty much everyone?
That's just the way the show wanted it to be. I guess that's my only theory.
So we're going to go
with
sloppy writing again?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I just really, like I said, I think this season is struggling from the lack of episodes. I really do. I know in the books, I've never read the books, but I've heard this, that Daenerys, she'll have a lot of thoughts in her mind when have you guys read the books?
I've read up through the middle of the 4th one.
Okay, maybe you'll know what I'm talking about then. So I guess something happens where Daenerys is thinking to herself and she's having an inner battle with herself about, am I doing things that are slowly making me the Mad Queen, or am I justified? And she's going back and forth with herself and she's having that internal conflict and struggle. And I don't feel like we are seeing that portrayed in the show. And one of you guys mentioned a little bit earlier, talking about the inside the episode, where they were saying this is the moment where Dany's looking across King's Landing and she's starting to realize this and that and blah blah blah. I don't want to have to watch inside the episode to understand that that's what she was thinking that made her the Mad Queen. Did you guys see that movie Us?
Oh yeah.
So you know how the ending's like, what was that about? And then you have to do your own research to kind of figure out what was going on.
Yep.
Okay, I don't like movies like that. Not that it wasn't a good movie. I don't want to have to see a movie and then research it to understand what the movie was, like The Shining. I don't want to have to research the ending. I just want to have the ending and dang, that was good, you know? And that's kind of how I feel with this. I don't want to see Daenerys just start burning everybody alive and you're like, what is going on? Why is she doing this? And then I have to watch the inside of the episode to understand? No, come on. Have it in the episode. So, you know, stupider people can understand, because I'm not like this guy who catches every single little innuendo in a TV show, but I want some things told to me. I don't want to have to research it to understand why she was doing that.
And it's not only that, but if you're talking about her inner monologue or inner dialogue, I guess in this case, we don't see any of that. All we see is the switch that gets flipped in her brain, and all of a sudden she's the Mad Queen and she's killing everyone.
Right.
Yeah, even though I mentioned the Red Keep, was it that scene that made her flip the switch? Or did she already know she was going to F shit up when she was in the room with Jon Snow, and then she had the whole discussion with him? Is it going to be love that I rule with, or fear, whatever it was? And then the last thing she said was something along the lines of like, I guess it's fear, or something like that.
She fucking knew.
I think everyone knew at that point she was going to do something that was going to piss off Jon Snow and kind of show you that dark side to her and the whole Mad Queen now side. I think that was one of the main scenes where we got that feeling that something was going to happen.
Even going back to last week's episode, when Missandei was on the thing and she goes, Jakaris, you know, basically implying burn this place to the ground. Like, don't show them mercy like we wanted to, just burn them. And so I think that was the first thing that maybe made Dany realize. But then she has the Jon Snow conversation, or let it be fear then. And then she even has a conversation though with Tyrion where he says, you know, don't attack them again. And if they have the bells that go off, bring your troops back. And then she nods. I don't know if she was nodding like, okay, I'll do that. I'll follow your plan again. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I don't know what flipped inside of her, because she had moments, where you think that she's going to be Mad Queen. And then you have moments where you think she's going to pull back. And I really think they needed to flesh that out a little bit more for us to really see her go full Mad Queen. Or what I thought, as I was thinking in my head, replaying this episode in my head today, I thought what would have been really cool is if they surrendered and she won and everybody was like, you know, celebrating all of her side. And then, you know what I mean? Not like super lame, but they're like, yeah, like we won, you know?
Hooray!
Hooray, we did it, yay! And then I think it'd be cool because she was perched on that ledge with Drogon. I think what would have been really effective is if she would have looked down at the people, and they're looking up at her, like, and they're shaming her. They're like scowling at her, like, boo, you know, like seeing her as a villain. And then all these people that she came over here to rule, she sees that they all hate her. You know what I mean? Not just don't want to follow her, but hate her for what she's doing. And that makes her snap.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jon wouldn't bang her and make out with her. So that too. Yeah, and she probably would just be like, Dracarys, motherfuckers, and then just burn everyone that way. But
what do you think Jorah would have to say about her just going fucking full heel?
Khaleesi, don't.
I would have made out with you.
Let's move on to Jon Snow then, because I feel like his arc in this episode is very George R.R. Martin and very Jon Snow, true to character. He goes in, immediately tries to stop an entire army from going into battle, which is never going to happen. But that's just Jon Snow fighting the immovable object. He does see some of his Northman brothers turned into like rapists and just child murderers. Mark, I know that you love this stuff. Did this quench your thirst for death and mayhem?
I was very confused because when you mentioned that, I think of the scene where, was it a Dothraki or Unsullied? You couldn't really tell. I think it was Dothraki that was trying to rape one of the women.
That was a Northman.
That was a Northman?
He was somebody from the north. Yeah, I watched it the second time today and I was like, wow, that really happened.
Yeah, and then he tries killing Jon Snow. That made no sense.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Like that, even if you survived, well, I guess nobody would ever know because they were kind of in that little alleyway or whatever. But yeah, that made no sense.
This is kind of, though, Jon Snow and Ser Davos kind of have this moment where they see each other from across the battlefield or the street, if you will, and they're just like, what the fuck are we doing here? So I think that's going to be kind of the turning point that sees the rebellion against the Mad Queen. Greg, what do you think's going to happen there?
Dude, honestly, if you would have asked me something like that 2 episodes ago, I could give you 15 different theories of what I think could happen. At this point, it's either like Mark, like what you said about, I mean, I think the only way we see this is, Arya or Jon has to kill Dany. And that's the only thing that really makes sense at this point with the remaining characters. But I don't think, and I want to, I don't want to put too much hope into this show, with given the last few episodes we got, but I really want to think that they're going to do something that's just completely going to shock us all, and in a good way. But I really don't know. Honestly, I think there's just going to be some sort of scene where, I don't know, where Jon is talking to somebody about like, oh snap, this lady's crazy, and we got to do something about this. And he's going to kill her, or she's going to kill him, and she's ultimately going to just sit on the throne, and then that's how it's going to end. I don't know. Like, at this point, I really don't know where the show's going to go. I really thought Cersei was going to be in the last episode, but she's not. So I don't have any idea, to be honest.
They've killed their 2 big evil enemies before the last episode even airs.
Yeah.
The Night King and now Cersei are gone. So that's not something I would have predicted going into this season.
But she might be alive. There's a possibility.
There is.
I think Dany's going to be killed. But going back to it, what's going to happen with Drogon? Like, what are you going to do about Drogon? Are you going to try to kill Drogon, or are you going to just try to pretend that Dany's still alive? Like, maybe tie sticks to the back of her arms and like make her look like a puppet? Like,
no.
Like, what do you do?
Ghost is going to come in and be like, yo, you tried to steal my owner. I'm going to fucking kill you. And Ghost is going to kill Drogon.
That'd be cool.
Or just ride Drogon away. They fall in love. It's
like Donkey and Shrek.
Shrek, yeah.
Maybe Jon can somehow become like the new owner of him because he's a Targaryen at the end of the day. Maybe somehow, because he used to ride Rhaegal, so maybe Drogon knows.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that though. So when Dany's brother dies in season 1, she says he was no dragon. Dragons can't be hurt by fire. Jon has been hurt by fire in the past. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen here. If they do a scene where like she tries to light Jon on fire and Jon just walks out like it didn't touch him, I'm going to have some fucking problems with that.
Did you see the still they captured of Jaime hugging Cersei, and his right hand doesn't have the golden hand? It's just a regular hand.
Oh my god!
For real?
People were losing it, and then all the people defending it were like, "No, it's his left hand. No, it's his fucking right hand that has the fucking prosthetic gold hand."
Anyone who says it's a left
$10 million
hand
an episode, and this is what we fucking get.
And the Starbucks cup.
All right, let's move on to something that maybe didn't suck so much, and that is, for me, Arya's interaction with the Hound, and also leading up to the Clegane Bowl. I thought it was incredibly personalized that she actually called him Sandor. I don't think anybody's ever called him by his first name to his face in this show. And that just kind of shows he has some sort of affection for this girl who, for all intents and purposes, they loathed each other for the entire time that he was protecting her, trying to bring her to her mom, all this other stuff. And now they're just like friends, I dare say.
And she watched him die.
BFFs.
Or almost die.
Pretty much.
Throw down the mountain.
She left him for dead. Yeah, I mean, the Hound was even on her list, of names, and they kind of let that go. I really loved back then when they were together, and I love that they're sticking with that, and they're not pretending that never happened. I like that they're continuing with the relationship, and you can see how much it's developing and where it's going from here. Dude, honestly, my only problem that I had with that scene with Arya and the Hound, when right when they get to King's, not right when they get there, but when they're about to go fight the Mountain, and the whole scene where he's like, "Don't be like me," and then she's like, "Thank you." Like, I don't know. Like, for me, she's such a determined little mercenary now. Like I don't see her just being like, "Thanks, bye." Like, she just traveled all the way there and has had Cersei on her list since season 1 or 2. Like, I don't see her just giving up that quickly. I could see her maybe in the background to go help in the Clegane Bowl or something. Not sure if I would have liked that, but I could have seen that, her sticking around and not just leaving him to die.
The whole "don't be like me," she's more than you are right now. She's followed through on more revenge than you have. So I think it's a little late to say that, unless I guess he was referring to stop doing this shit. Her whole backstory is all about revenge and killing these people that are on her list. So that's kind of hard to believe.
It was a really harsh character turn for her to be all of a sudden that lost little girl again, which we haven't seen in a couple of seasons now. And when she's running through the streets, you can see it in her eyes. She's terrified. Eventually she gets her shit back together when she finds those women in that room, and she says, if you stay here, you're going to die.
And then she sentences them to die, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, there was no getting around that. They were going to die anyways.
Oh, God.
All right, Clegane Bowl.
Yeah.
Did that live up to the hype?
No.
You didn't like this battle at all?
Let me explain. I liked the battle a lot. I loved it. What I didn't like is Shirtless Mountain. Why? Why did you rip off your armor? Like, is it just to show that, like, I'm not scared of dying because I'm already dead? Or why?
I liked that they showed more of his face and his body to just show how fucked up he was. Like, at first, you only see his bright red eyes. Then his helmet gets ripped off and you see his fucked up face. The Hound calls him ugly pretty much, and it just keeps going from there. Plus, when you're the largest man on the planet, like, you just don't wear a shirt ever.
Yeah. Basically, it looks like he just has a really bad case of scurvy. And I think the whole point of the whole taking off the armor, you got to think agility-wise, that shit has to weigh, just based on his size, 70 pounds.
Yeah, but he doesn't care. He's the Mountain.
I know. But it's also to show that he won't fucking die.
I think it was just to show how big he was, like how muscly and huge he is as a villain.
Yeah. He just looked like an infectious pus ball dude ass.
So in the behind-the-scenes stuff with the directors, they talk about how symbolic it was that Sandor would die from fire. I would contend that he didn't die from fire, and he died from falling like 500 feet.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
He fell into a giant area of flames, which as he was falling, I was like, yep, fire. There it is. And I thought that was cool because that was his weakness, and that was the whole reason he hated his brothers, because he burned his face, So I thought that was poetic. I thought it was really cool and a really great visual to see. And I loved how that happened. I love that he just, and just tackled him like a lineman, just threw him off the edge. I don't know if the drop or the fire kills somebody who's already dead, so that'd be interesting. If
the Mountain's still alive,
yeah, he just gets up.
What would he even do? He doesn't have anybody command him anymore.
Get a donut? I don't know.
Because he fucking threw Qyburn by his face and was just like, get out of my way.
And there was no way the Hound even knew where he was going, where he was tackling him into, because his eyes were gouged out basically at that time. So he probably had no idea.
He likes that eye gouge, man.
Oh, that was fucked up.
That was a good fight, though. It really was. I just felt so hopeless for the Hound.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on. Give me, I don't know if you guys noticed, but towards the end of it, the Mountain was missing his right arm.
I did not notice that.
Really?
I was seeing it, trying to watch the inside the episode when they were showing that fight to see if they showed when he cut his arm off or something. But something happened to where right before he died, he was missing his right arm.
The best part of that scene is when he was just stabbing him in the neck, and he's just like, "Why won't you die?" Whatever.
Or when he's laughing as he's getting his head smashed in. Yeah, I appreciate that level of psychopathy.
Oh, yeah. Qyburn. Oh, whew. That was that was the most, that was the best kill, I think, of this episode. That was the most worth it
That
kill.
was the Jesus kill, where you're just like, oh my
Brain
God.
Just fucking pops out of his skull. So let's talk about Jaime and Cersei and their supposed death. I felt as though Cersei got kind of a happy ending that she definitely does not deserve. It would be very not Game of Thrones for them to just, have her die in a satisfying manner. But this felt like a bit much.
It was so symbolic, though. The kingdom that she's basically raised up and fucking made shitty as hell.
She didn't raise that fucking kingdom. She just took it over.
Yeah, that's true.
And banged her brother behind Robert's back. Dude, okay, you asked what I thought about that. Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things that pissed me off about this episode and let me down was Cersei, who had that little freaking minion, little demon of a child, what was his name? Joffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And she defended him, and she had sex with her brother, and she was evil, and she was backstabbing, and she tortured people, and she got them killed. Like, you remember, I don't remember their names, but the guy who got his head blown up by the Mountain, pretty much.
The Viper?
Yeah, the Viper guy, whatever his name was. Mm-hmm. You remember he had like a wife, and then she had 3 girls?
Yep.
Okay, so do you remember the scene when they're in the downstairs of King Landing or whatever, in the dungeon or something, and they have them tied up, and Cersei kisses the daughter, and she has remember? And she's like, You're going to watch your daughter rot, and you're going to live to watch her rot. Like, so evil. so disgusting of a person Cersei is. And then to get a poetic ending, like, I'm going to die with my brother, we've always loved each other, and we're just going to have a fast, instant, death, getting crushed. Yes, it looked cool, but what? We wanted Cersei to suffer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys agree. We want Cersei to be on her knees, whimpering like a little girl, and you have Arya standing over her or something saying, you got my father killed, like, your disgusting, pitiful son is the reason this happened. My sister, you know what I mean? And, like, you're disgusting, and then freaking behead her or Jakara's her or something. But for her just to kind of get off scotch-free is completely unsatisfying as the viewer, and I'm livid about that. Honestly, livid about that.
We wanted the Walder Frey type death, where Arya, makes her eat her kids like Walder Frey does, and then fucking get stabs in the face. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm with you.
And it's not even we, us three. It's we as in the whole Game of Thrones community basically wanted that. And it's bullshit. And I feel like the writers thought that they could give her the 5-10 minutes or whatever of the whole bond her and Jaime have, and then her little freak out at the end. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And think we would feel something.
Baby to live.
But no, we don't, because we remember that type of shit. And Greg, thanks for reminding me of it, by the way, because she has done some really effed up stuff. And it's been a while since I went back and watched those seasons. But yeah, now that you bring them up, holy crap. She needed a death that was satisfactory.
Yeah, that was one example of many. Like, I'm not going to get into more, but
keep going.
Just okay. Season 1, episode 3. No, but I mean, everybody this last 2 years, honestly, waiting for this season. Everybody's been saying, like, who's going to be the one that takes out Cersei? How do you think she's going to die? And everyone's speculating. Could it be Arya? No, she killed the Night King. So, like, who else could do it? Like, you know what I mean? People were having, like wagers and bets on how she's going to die and who's going to give it to her. And the fact that she's just going to die in the arms of the one she loves, like, she gets to die with the one she loves?
Yeah, that guy that she loves that raped her over her son's corpse.
Oh, yeah.
Mark, you like that, right?
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So who do we still like in this show? Is there anybody that we can root for at all?
Grey Worm.
Yeah, that's true. He went a little crazy too, though.
I'm going to say Bran. The worst part of this whole episode is we didn't get any Bran. So,
dude, I know you're doing this just to fuck with me.
Dude, I'm serious. I really like
want
Bran.
anymore.
Oh my god. He did kind of predict a couple seasons ago in one of his visions. There was like the shadow of a dragon flying over King's Landing and all this foreshadowing for the three-eyed raven.
Good. Thanks for the contribution,
Is
Brian.
he that horse right now? Is he the white horse?
100%.
Your Uber's here. That was funny.
Yeah, I saw that meme. That was great.
I'm still rooting for Sir Davos, and I'm glad that he's still alive. I hope that he has a hand in killing Dany, but I'm sure that it's going to be Jon Snow, and if I could make a bet on that right now, I probably would.
Can we talk about Jon Snow for a second?
Let's go.
Like, do you guys still like him after this season so far? I really am annoyed with him.
He's kind of being a little bitch, Greg.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Tim Tebow, where he's so pure and honest that you kind of hate him for it.
Well, he's annoying. He's stupid. I mean, if you remember last episode of season 7, when they bring the Walker to Cersei for her to see with her eyes, and I don't remember the exact quote or anything, but they're like, "Can you just learn to lie?" Like, for once. And that's when he does the whole, like, if I start lying, then my word is worth nothing. It's like, shut up, nobleman. Like, you need to see it. You're all about the greater good and us living and the world living, against the White Walkers. And then you can't lie to make that happen. And then it even shows with Dany. She's like, you know how this can work. You can't tell anybody. And he's like, like, I'm going to tell the one person who doesn't like, oh yeah, and the other person that doesn't like you too. They literally just told me before we came in this room, we don't like your queen. So yeah, let's go tell them the secret that basically will dethrone you. John, god dang it.
He's like, if Dany came to him and was like, do I look fat in this dress? He would be like, well, to be honest, yes. And then Dany goes on a fucking murder spree and blows up an entire town.
And he'd be like, I love you, Dany. And she'd be like, just make out with me. He'd be like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Don't like that.
All right, so this is the time where you spit out your final thoughts. Greg, I'll give you the floor here.
I don't want this to end. I'm having so much fun. Okay. This episode. Did you guys see John Wick 2?
Dude,
Yes.
We are so pumped for 3, by the way. This is John Wick 3 week. We've declared it John Wick 3 week.
Halle Berry?
Yeah.
Okay, so I always like to use this example relating to John Wick. Okay, John Wick 1 was the perfect amount of action. I thought it was super tight. John Wick 2, great action, but there specifically is the first big action scene where he's in an underground tunnel right after he kills that one girl. Or she kills herself, but then he's running from them. Like, do you remember that, where he's got guns stashed away? Yeah, the sister. I thought that scene just was so tight, but it went on way too long. I just thought it was like, okay, like, let's wrap it up and let's move on to the next scene, because it was just nonstop shooting, and then when you think it was going to end, they just keep shooting. That's kind of how I felt about this episode. I loved the King's Landing destruction. Like, you didn't talk about how the Iron Fleet was completely destroyed this time, and how the Scorpions on the top of the King's Landing were just wiped out. And I love that moment when Cersei is like, "Oh, we got the Iron Fleet," and Qyburn's like, "Nah, they're gone." And she's like, "Well, we still have the Scorpions." And he's like, "Nah, they're gone too." She's like, "Well, we have the Golden Company." "Nah, they're gone too." "Well, what about the King's Landing? They'll fight harder than any other sellswords." "No, they're about to throw their swords down." Like, you're done, Cersei. You know, like, I just think the killing of everybody and King's Landing and the Red Keep or whatever she was blowing up, I just think it went on too long. Not because I didn't love it, but with the lack of episodes, with one episode left, I was like, are we going to spend this much time just watching the city burn instead of seeing good plot? Or are we going to spend this much time seeing Arya run through the streets when we only have an hour and a half left of this entire show? It was just kind of pissing me off. Like, come on, please, let's move on to something else. I want to see more. Like, I saw the dragon blow stuff up. I don't need to see any more. I need to see who's on the throne and what's going to happen. Like, and I don't want it all crammed into one last episode.
The best thing that could possibly happen is if they, at the end of this, were like, surprise, we got 4 more episodes and we're going to wrap up all these storylines and give you so much more detail and figure out exactly what happened. But yeah, that's not going to happen.
Did you guys think they spent too much time on Arya and the dragon? As cool as it was?
Yes, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, because Mark's been saying, like, well, we only have 2 episodes left, but technically it's 3 because they're an hour and a half, and, well, if they're half filler each, then that's not really the episode that I want to see.
Yeah, and Greg, I'm glad you brought up the scene when she was up in the Red Keep and just realizing that she's completely fucked, because I don't think any of us have really seen that face, except for who's the one priest looking dude ass where she did the Walk of Atonement.
Oh, the Sparrows?
Yeah, the Sparrows. That was the only other time that I can think of where she was just helpless and knew she was just screwed.
There was one more time, though, is when, they're having the Battle of Blackwater, and they're about to lose. Remember, she has the milk of the poppy, and she's going to give it to her son, and she's holding him. And then that's when Tywin walks in. He's like, "We've won. The war's over." And she's like, "Oh, God." And she throws it like, don't see what I did. She was about to kill herself and her kid. Like, that was a good scene of fear, and that it definitely reminded me of last night's episode.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good point, too. And I guess we have to just deal with that being the last of Cersei and our only satisfaction we're going to get out of her whole performance during that episode.
Mark, give me your final thoughts on this episode and what's going to happen next week.
Are we going to see Arya become a faceless man again, or no?
If she does, it'll be Jon Snow, because that's the only way she can get close to him. And she makes out with him a little too much, and then maybe it turns into a porno. I don't know.
That's bullshit. I want to see her do some crazy shit again. If that doesn't happen in the last episode, I'm done with Game of Thrones. Literally, we're all done.
Well, yeah, you don't really have a choice anymore.
So you're resting the ending of Game of Thrones on Arya? That's what you want to rest it on?
I'm fine with that.
Which I think has to involve being a faceless man of somebody that nobody would expect and being like, "Oh, damn."
You think Daenerys will sit on the throne, and then when her council leaves, she pulls off the mask and it's Arya sitting on the throne?
It could be.
Do you think that would actually fool a dragon?
Dude, what if she killed Dany and literally pretended to be Dany the rest of her life as the queen?
Wait,
yeah,
no.
that's what I just said.
Dany pulls up on Drogon. Drogon pulls his head off, and it's Arya's tiny head on the dragon's body. Fade to black.
Probably going to be a better ending than what they're really going to give us. Sadly.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for hopping on this episode. I need to let my dog out because it's 10 o'clock now. Like we said, you can find Greg. We Shouldn't Be Here on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. telling scary stories, actual true stories. We want to thank you for joining the episode.
I'm so happy you guys let me on. Like, honestly, huge fans of you guys' show. Been listening for like a long time. I don't remember when I first started, but it's been a long time, and I'm just so thankful that I got to talk Game of Thrones with somebody, and you guys are awesome dudes. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Well, we appreciate that, and we'll talk to you again soon. Until next time.
Jumps out, motherfuckers.